The scene begins with a sick and dying old man in his tent, delirious. I am a person from a civilized society on Earth. A young girl arrives and hands him rice cakes. Oh no, old CEO, my mother told me to give you this. The old man thanks her for the meal. The girl, worried, asks, please get well soon and make soap for us again. The setting is a harsh winter with intense snowfall, resembling an ice age. The girl leaves and the old man continues to rave about being from a civilized society on a planet called Earth. The scene shifts to the present. Two men are fighting, with one of them, a handsome young man with long hair, the protagonist, being assaulted while others watch. The aggressor, Section Chief John Myung, roars, "Hey, you crazy guy, you idiot! Did you fall asleep at the wheel while driving up the mountain? Everyone could have died because of you." The protagonist, Vice Manager Sao, thinks, I had forgotten. I hadn't heard that title in a while, so I didn't even realize he was talking to me. John Myung continues to humiliate him. Hey, Vice Manager Co, do you want to be fired as soon as we get back to the company? The protagonist identifies him in his thoughts, John Myung's nephew, the CEO of the company I worked for. He was a lucky guy who became department head through nepotism at the age of 32. A coworker tries to intervene, defending the protagonist. It's not like the deputy manager, Seo, could have done anything to prevent a landslide. John Myung doesn't calm down. All this mess is happening because that crazy son of a bitch fell asleep while driving. The protagonist, fed up, gets up and confronts John Myung. He's right, I fell asleep at the wheel. But the reason I fell asleep was because you dumped your work on me. I couldn't sleep because I had to work overtime. And thinking about it, you shouldn't have been the one driving today, John Myung. John Myung deflects the subject. It's all that frustrating idiot's fault that we ended up stuck here. The protagonist recovers his memories. My memories from 50 years ago are starting to become clearer. Back then, I was so nervous that I apologized to him without thinking, while also thinking that I might have made a mistake. For the next 50 years, I always lived apologizing for others. The protagonist reflects on the 50 years of his past life, marked by injustice and violence, where he always yielded, even when the gang of strong bandits trampled me and stole my money, even when the brutal martial artist humiliated me, and even when the local official took everything from me under the pretext of collecting taxes. He realized the mistake of his previous life. After enduring for so long, I realized something. Yes, I have to endure in the face of those I cannot confront. But now he's back, and he can face this man. The protagonist has made his decision. He spoke to John Myung, remaining calm. Session Chief John, I understand you're frustrated, but I don't think pointing fingers at each other is helpful. John Myung, enraged, lunged forward with clenched fists. He punched the protagonist in the face. Do you want to get beaten up? The protagonist took the blow, but looked at John Myung with pity. Poor guy. The voice in his mind spoke clearly. There's no need for a fool to stand up to those I can handle. At that moment, the protagonist reacted. With a swift movement, he clenched his fists and launched a punch at the session leader's face, sending him flying several meters away. His colleagues were shocked. Unbelievable. What was going through that boy's head? He was so calm, he was so obedient, and suddenly he rebelled? Did he finally wake up to reality? The protagonist continued to strike John Myung, who didn't even have a chance to fall to the ground, expressing all the pent-up rage from his previous life. In my past life, how many times was I beaten by martial artists? I was beaten by bandits while gathering herbs in the mountains. I was beaten by thieves during a famine, and beaten again by an official for not having enough to pay taxes. He was completely outraged, understanding that he needed to command respect to survive. This is nothing like what they did to me. He continued to beat John Myung, Jeo Myung, striking his face and chest mercilessly. The protagonist reflected on the lesson he learned from the violence. Throughout all this senseless violence, I managed to learn something that Jeo Myung and the others didn't yet know. Violence. When you hit someone in the eyes, their fear intensifies. He hit the boss in the eye and continued. And once they've been beaten enough, something naturally comes to the surface. His colleagues were horrified, too afraid to intervene. What's gotten into him? Why is he hitting our boss? Stop it now. At the height of the beating, Section Chief John Myung begged for his life and apologized. The protagonist remained in his trance of memory, ignoring the pleas. I did not receive mystical abilities coveted by immortals, nor did I receive excellent martial arts to excel in a martial realm. However, I can change my destiny. He returned to the harsh reality of his past life. 50 years. It's been since I fell into this cursed world. He confirmed the events. Yes, it was definitely the day we were going to the company workshop. We were swept away by a landslide. The accident took the group to another world. We were in another world. A world where there are foxes the size of a house, a giant two-headed snake, strange people flying in the air, as if they were gods from mythology, looking like true warriors from medieval stories. The protagonist recognized the setting. I had fallen into the world of an immortal cultivation novel that I used to read from time to time. He recalled that his colleagues were lucky. The immortals who descended from heaven were amazed by the colleagues who possessed mystical abilities, all except him, and took them to heaven for a majestic life. In the end, only Director Kim and the protagonist remained in this world. They waited in vain for abilities. We waited a long time, hoping that mystical things like that would happen to us too, but none of us had unique abilities. Lacking skills, all that was left for them was hard physical labor, digging with pickaxes, removing heavy stones. 6 months later, Director Kim gave up on physical training and invested all his money in a third-rate martial arts book. In 3 months, he mastered the martial art, becoming a highly respected martial artist, capable of defeating masters and students with ease. He began working for the nation, learned advanced martial arts, and soon became a powerful warrior, setting off into the martial realm, imposing and enviable. He stopped digging and watched Director Kim leave, feeling abandoned. Besides, he was ungrateful, because he left him behind. Despite everything, he still held on to a vain hope. Maybe something special will happen to me someday. 50 years later, he looked at his aged hands, but nothing happened to me. Even now, 50 years later, I'm just a mere old man dying of cold. He was covered by torn blankets. The cold was intense. The protagonist, Seo, was entering his final moments of life. He coughed up blood, sobbing and delirious. I am a person of Earth. I lived here alone, in utter despair. He gave a bitter summary of his life. I struggled to learn to read and write. I barely managed to make ends meet, and desperately, I managed to buy a small piece of land to build a house. He recalled his brief success. Even though I managed to earn a good amount of money, especially when I sold soaps made from caustic soda. In this world, similar to medieval China, soap seemed like a novelty that no one had seen before. But tragedy followed him. Even then, my customers were taken by thieves who stole my method of making soap, and the big shots drove me out of the market. He saw himself with no way out. Now here I am, rejected by this world, waiting for my death. He questioned the universe in despair. What do you want me to do? I gave it my best. What should I have done? Why me? Even though I wasn't chosen, even though I wasn't a special person, why do things always have to be taken away from me? With tears in his eyes, he felt his last seconds. I don't even have the strength to open my eyes now. He saw only snow. If only I had a skill. If only I had a small opportunity. The moment he utters the word opportunity, he dies. But the scene changes drastically. What is this? Why am I alive? Why are these the clothes I used to wear on Earth? He didn't return to Earth, but rather to the exact moment when his life in this new world began. I had awakened my regression ability. He had regressed to the episode of the accident with his co-workers. One of his colleagues stated, "We were on our way to the workshop. What happened?" The protagonist confirmed, "That's definitely the day we fell into this strange world. We were in an SUV going to the workshop, then a landslide." The protagonist, Vice Manager SEO, confirmed the regression. Yes, I remember it well. There was a moment when we were swept away by that landslide. My memories are all there, since it was 50 years ago. He pondered. Since I've returned, how am I going to live now? Usually in regression stories, people live well using knowledge from the future. But all I did was make soap. At that moment, John Myung repeated the scene from the past, again accusing him of falling asleep at the wheel. This time, the protagonist changed his posture. Before John Myung could scream, Seo slapped him on the head, making him duck. His colleagues were shocked. "How could you do that to your own colleague?" Seo replied, controlling himself. "You're right. I lost my temper. I apologize if everyone was shocked." He continued diplomatically. "I won't see these people again until I die. As I was the driver, I also apologize for this accident." Director Kim, the aspiring martial artist, interjected, "Of course. Section Chief Jeo Myung is a bit harsh. You really couldn't have done anything. Even so, you overreacted, Vice President Seo." The protagonist, a strategist, thought he could be mean to everyone except Director Kim. After all, he would see him for a long time. He would continue to see him, since they were together in that world. Director Kim became one of the strongest martial artists as soon as he started training. If I support him as much as possible in this life, I'm sure I'll also gain something in return. That means I need to get closer to him now. Seo apologized again to Director Kim. "Session Chief Geo, my reaction was inappropriate. I'm sorry. I apologize." Note that he apologized to Session Chief Geo, but the focus is on Director Kim, who is observing. John Myung, upset after being slapped, yelled at the protagonist once more, but seeing Seo's friendly reaction, he accepted the apology. One of his colleagues suggested, "Well, anyway, let's get out of here and look for a village." The protagonist, SEO, agreed with the suggestion to look for a village. It's the most logical thing to do. He pondered. Common sense has no place in this world. Here, immortals fly around seeking immortality, and the only rule that reigns in this land. He interrupted his thoughts and decided to act logically to save energy. I'll let them look for the car instead of wasting energy trying to convince him. SEO suggested splitting the search. Let's divide up. One team can look for shelter and the other can look for the car. Why don't we come back here before it gets completely dark? The scene shifts tonight. The group is gathered in a cave. A colleague expresses confusion. "I can't understand. We were in a landslide inside a car. How did we end up here without the car?" Director Kim, his future ally, praises SEO. "Oh my gosh, it's a serious situation, but we're having a good time thanks to you, Vice Manager Seo. I knew you were reliable from the company. You're so diligent." He recalls, "If I remember correctly, you were tired while driving, and also because you had to work late yesterday." His colleagues praise the cave he found. SEO thinks, drawing on his memories, "In my past life, we only found this place after being lost in the forest for hours. I was just lucky." He decides to seize the moment. "I'm going to enjoy this moment. Tonight will be the last time we can laugh like this." The protagonist stepped away from the group and bowed before a giant, ferocious fox with purple breath that approached. Seo, demonstrating knowledge of this world, offered, "I offer my greetings to the Lord of the Forest." The demon fox replied, "A rather unique scent for a human. Even though it has been around for thousands of years, I have never smelled this scent on humans before." At that moment, one of her co-workers woke up and saw the giant fox. Her colleagues were frightened, thinking it was a monster. The protagonist shouted, enforcing the protocol of this world. "Show your manners to the Lord of the Forest. Kneel." The demon fox, irritated, retorted, "Demonic and diabolical fox, every time I encounter you humans, I am reminded of how foolish and rude you are. I would just tear your limbs off one by one, but since one of you seems to know how to treat me, I will forgive you." The demon fox, accepting the gesture of respect, imposed his price. "That being said, you must pay the price for being in my territory. If one of you offers me an arm, I will let you stay here." The protagonist, SEO, thought, sounding cold. In my past life, everyone saw this monster and screamed in panic, and they all ended up dead for angering the fox. But it seems the fox appreciated my manners this time. He calculated, using his knowledge of the future. We won't lose all the limbs like last time. Only one person will lose an arm. That's all we need to sacrifice. An arm that will be healed when the cultivators show up here in 2 days. He still had a card up his sleeve. Besides, I've already prepared an herb that will reduce the pain. SEO immediately offered, I will donate my arm. I offer you my arm. The fox agreed. You know how to act, and opened its mouth, biting Seo's arm without remorse. It warned, I'll try to make this as painless as possible, and ripped off the protagonist's arm, swallowing it. His colleagues were horrified. SEO, crying in pain, ate the herb he had prepared, which looked like a mandrake, thinking, the herb really helped a lot because of the pain. The demon fox commented, I thought you would taste different since you smell different, but you taste the same as the others. In fact, you taste worse because of all the impurities in your veins. Seo remained respectful. I apologized that my offer wasn't good enough. The fox granted the favor. I will allow you to stay in my territory for 7 days. You will not die thanks to my divinity. With brutal strength, reminiscent of the Hulk, the fox leaped away. His colleagues thought, terrified. But what immense power do these animals possess in this world? Running to Seo, they asked how he was. Seo, pragmatic, led them inside the cave. Let's go in, my colleagues. I'll explain everything. Inside, Seo lied to justify his knowledge. I met that fox when I left the cave this morning. The fox told me they were on the low wall. His colleagues were surprised. But anyway, we'll be safe for a week, since I gave him my arm. A colleague asked, but is your arm only for 1 week? What about the following week? Seo replied, looking at everyone, especially John Myung, and forcing the situation. We'll need to sacrifice something. I'm sleepy, I'm going to rest a bit. I hope you understand. His colleagues, shocked by John Myung's implicit selfishness, began to confront him. Section Chief Dion, how can you say that? Manager Seo sacrificed his own arm. The protagonist, SEO, issued the final challenge, testing them and reinforcing the cost of survival. I can't say I agree with you, so who's going to give up their arm and leg next week? The protagonist, SEO, hidden behind a rock, overheard his colleagues devising a plan. Well, since he's already lost an arm, he won't last much longer. That's why we should use him as a sacrifice again, they said. SEO, indignant, thought, so now that I'm weakened, he wants to cut off all my limbs every week to give to the fox? That's not exactly fun. He was tempted to retaliate. With the violence I learned after being beaten for 50 years, I can easily eliminate a man like John Myung, even with only one arm. He pondered and dropped the stone. No. Fear has certainly paralyzed their minds. If I act too cruelly now, it will cause problems in my relationship with Director Kim. SEO then decided to forge a spark of hope, forcing benevolence. Yes, they are good people. It's just a confusing situation for everyone, he said. The next day, the group encountered a new Lord of the Forest. This time, it was a two-headed snake, SEO recalled. It's the same snake that sucked the blood of the boss, who lost his limbs in a past life. John Myung, fearing for his life, offered his own arm this time. The snake collected a small amount of blood from his arm and then simply walked away, saying that this was the worst kind of blood it had ever tasted. The protagonist quipped, "It's the blood of a 21st century worker, soaked in nicotine and cholesterol. No wonder it tastes awful." Seo called John Myung over. "Come with me to pick some herbs. Aren't you hungry?" John Myung grew irritated by Seo's bossy tone. Seo explained, feigning self-sacrifice. "I'll tell you about the edible fruits and herbs, so follow me. I plan to give my arm to the fox next week as well. If I die, someone needs to know how to survive in this forest." John Myung turned pale and thanked him profusely. Seo was pleased, knowing he was manipulating him. The fox won't return, and you'll never use this knowledge. Seo began yelling and punishing John Myung with the same tactics the boss used against him in his past life. John Myung, How many times do I have to tell you that you can't have that fruit? Concentrate. That fruit will kill you, understand? John Myung, now a subordinate, pleaded, I need a break. I've been digging nonstop to get these roots. The protagonist subtly pondered his revenge. This is how John Myung punished me when I joined the company, but he disguised his anger. The protagonist SAO pressed John Myung, we need to finish before nightfall, so hurry up. They found a prominent and unique root in the region. SEO identified it. Yes, it's something similar. It looks like a yellow bamboo root. SEO thought, analyzing the quality, it must be because the path in this section is so full of energy, but the yellow bamboo roots, which are normally the size of a middle finger, have grown to a certain size here. It won't be very useful for cultivators, but it's an extremely valuable remedy for martial artists, used to increase IQ. This should help Director Kim. John Myung was delighted, finding it incredible that he had dug up all that wild ginseng. Seo said, of course, take off your shirt and use it to store the herbs. It's almost time for us to leave, as night was falling. Back at camp, the cave. The co-workers were stunned, and as the protagonist predicted, the gods, immortals, arrived. The immortals descended from the sky, surprised. Ah, what a surprise! I never thought we'd find so much talent here. They started fighting amongst themselves, each claiming ownership of the new talents. Get out of here because they're already ours. They're his property. The immortals analyzed the humans. They have spiritual roots. The others are just ordinary mortals. One of the immortals used his power and identified a talent, a body of celestial golden thunder. Another immortal, playing a kind of violin, identified the immortal root of another colleague. Transformation into a phantom of the immortal root, and to think that such a thing actually exists. The immortal who identified the unique sacred body in the protagonist's leader made the first offer. I will take you 3 as disciples of the Azure Sky Creation sect. All 3 of you had the talent to change the entire world. What do you think? The protagonist's boss thought, oppressed. I can't breathe if it were this. I feel like I'll die if I back down. The proposals intensified into a heated discussion. No, join the Valley of the Black Ghost. We have all kinds of cultivation, immortality, the power to transform the heavens, famine, and wealth. We guarantee you'll achieve all of that in 100 years. The remaining colleagues, lacking spiritual abilities, pleaded, wait, can you get us out of this forest? We're all going to die here like this. One of the immortals grew irritated by the interruption. He opened a bottle of perfume, saying that immortals worry too much, and sucked the soul of one of his colleagues inside, eliminating him. The immortal noticed Seo's amputated arm. It seems one of them lost an arm to that fox. Judging by the scar, he offered himself. Admiring his courage, you may be a mere mortal, but you have guts and honor and above all loyalty. He healed Seo's arm with his power. The immortals, after choosing the 3 lucky ones with talents, including the leader, departed. One of them made a final announcement. We have captured all the beasts and monsters along the path of ascension leading up to this point. You will be safe here for the next 10 years. The protagonist recalled the 50 years. The same thing happened years ago. We both got left behind. No matter how much we yelled, they ignored us like insects and continued on their way. At least he healed my arm. The remaining group, including Director Kim, was left alone again. One of her colleagues spoke up, worried. Vice Manager Seo. Vice Manager O is very ill. Is there any kind of herb we can use? What should we do? Let's wait a little longer. Someone might come and cure her. The group didn't understand Seo's statement. Amidst the confusion and concern surrounding Vice Manager O, a powerful new being emerged from the cave. Mortal on the path of ascension, like ants suffering in the competition between dragons, the voice said. The being introduced himself. I am the Sea Dragon King. I am He Wham. The cave lit up. The Sea Dragon King explained that he had come to investigate the origin of a storm that had appeared out of nowhere, caused by Vice Manager O. He expressed surprise. She's an ordinary person with no cultivation skills whatsoever. How could she wield such overwhelming power? And further, besides, she's not even doing it consciously. How strange. The protagonist responded to the sea dragon's perplexity. Actually, we're the ones who are confused. We've only been here a short time, and one after another, powerful people like you appear and take my companions away. The sea dragon laughed and explained the situation. So you're saying that among your colleagues there were some with extraordinary potential? And then, as if by arrangement, powerful cultivators appeared and took them away? And now here I am, conveniently appearing in front of this woman. He revealed the key to the mystery. Yes, dear mortal, do you know where we are? This place is known as the Path of Ascension, or Path to Ascension. It is a key portal leading to the upper realm. In a few months, a dimensional rift called the Ascension Portal will open right here. This happens once every 1,000 years. Countless high-level cultivators and spiritual beings have already begun to gather around the Path of Ascension to ascend to the upper realm, so it's not very likely that cultivators like myself will appear near you. A colleague questioned the logic, but they said they were taking my colleagues to join their sects, and if they are ascending to the higher realm, how can our colleagues join them? The sea dragon explained the storage technique. There's a technique among cultivators used to select large objects and store them inside magical tools like this one. They likely stored their sects within items like these. Their goal is to ascend to the upper realm along with their entire sect when the Ascension Portal opens. He gave a striking example, showing an item where 800 sea dragons were asleep inside one of their underwater castles. The Sea Dragon King approached Vice Manager O and spoke of her potential. Hyperbole is intriguing. If she were to join the Sea Dragon clan, she could become something extraordinary. A colleague tried to stop him, but was thrown to the ground by an abnormal force of gravity. The Sea Dragon accepted her. I will give her my blood and accept her as my kin. That would be best for all of us. He gave the group a final warning. Normally, don't ask high-level cultivators questions. I answered because I'm generous, but most cultivators would have killed you just for asking a question. The Sea Dragon King transformed into a blue dragon and flew away like thunder, taking Vice Manager O with him. The next day, the colleagues were observing the forest. One of them was going crazy, laughing deliriously. They've all been kidnapped. What is this? A landslide out of nowhere. And immortals and dragons kidnap my colleagues. She pleaded with Seo. Vice President Seo, please, you can't be taken too. If you are taken, I won't be able to survive in this forest alone. A new immortal appeared atop a golden tiger, or lion, an old man with glasses. He observed the mortals on the path of ascension, concluding that they were caught in a space storm that intensified with the imminent opening of the Ascension Portal. The old man, a self-proclaimed genius, demanded to know who had emitted the powerful consciousness of the Sea Dragon King. He turned to the remaining colleague who was going insane and offered her a chance. Child, let me take care of you. You have no spiritual roots, but I can awaken them with my power. The woman, in a panic, screamed for the protagonist and director Kim to help her. The old man became irritated. You're still clinging to your worldly ties, even after I offered to take you in. The immortal, without mercy, levitated and hanged the protagonist and director Kim, saying that he himself would sever those ties. The colleague pleaded, please, no, I'll do anything you ask for them, but leave them alone. The old man accepted the condition, but imposed his own. You must forget all your worldly ties, understood? He agreed to spare the two men. In that case, I will take them to a nearby mortal nation. He opened a dimensional rift, a spiral portal, and revealed they will be scattered randomly through a dimensional rift. Not even I know where they will end up. The protagonist and director Kim were pulled inside. At the last second, the protagonist acted on instinct. What's this? Damn, I need to get the herbs, pulling out the yellow bamboo ginseng he had collected. They landed abruptly in the middle of a bustling market, teeming with silks, deeds, and vendors. The protagonist stood up, stunned, and upon observing the place, had a crucial revelation. In my past life, I didn't fall into a place like this. Where we fall is random. He recognized the place. Well, this is where I used to live, the capital of Yangyun, the city of Seiyuu-ryun. Director Kim was disoriented. I can't keep track of what's happening. It would be good if this were just a dream. It's just the two of us left. Well, I guess I should be relieved that we weren't taken by those monsters. The protagonist, with his healed arm and the ginseng in his hand, knew that his luck had changed. I may have regressed, but in my past life I was nothing more than a powerless herb collector. He took the lead. Anyway, we can't stay in this alley forever. Why don't we get out of here? Director Kim followed him. Director Kim, referred to as Chin by the announcer, noted the local language. What they're saying sounds like Chinese. People are whispering while looking at us. The protagonist, SEO, replied, "They're saying our clothes look funny. Don't worry, director, I know a little Chinese." SEO reflected in his thoughts on the difficulty of his previous learning experience. I lied. Their languages aren't Chinese, apart from the fact that they use the same characters. The sound is completely different. I had to endure being teased by beggars for 2 months just to learn the basics of the language. But now I don't have to go through that. SEO made the first material decision. So, shall we buy new clothes? Director Kim questioned the method of payment. How? I don't think they accept our money. SEO acted immediately. He went to a medicinal herb shop and presented the root he had picked. The buyer was impressed. You're letting us buy these precious herbs? These yellow bamboo roots are at least 800 years old. The value exceeded expectations. Of course, this should be worth about 15 silver ingots. SEO was shocked by the instant wealth. 15? I've never had so much money in my life. He hurriedly completed the sale. With the money, SEO provided the basics. This is the house we're going to live in. I bought a house with money. I'll teach you the local language. He tallied up the expenses. I made it seem like there's no problem. But after bribing some guys for ID plates and buying the land and the house, we only have 1 silver ingot left. I think it's because we're in the capital, but everything here is so expensive. Director Kim suggested a change in the social dynamic. Hey, since we're in a completely new place, why don't I just call you by your name? SEO agreed. Okay, that's fine, Director, thank you. It's already night in the new house. SEO explained the financial situation. The reason I got all this money was because I sold those herbs. We won't have a source of income if the herbs run out, so we need to think of a way to make money. Director Kim suggested a business plan. We can do that. How about we use the silver we'll earn from selling the rest to start a business? SEO pondered his greater ambition. With all the money we can make from this, plus his skills from being a director at a mid-sized company, we should be able to support ourselves. But that's not enough. Since I've regressed, why not dream bigger? He focused on Director Kim. Director Kim is a martial arts genius. After reading some third-rate martial arts books sold on the street, he became a martial arts master in just a few months. As soon as he learned the advanced techniques, he became one of the most powerful martial artists in Tianheng. SEO's new goal is clear. But what if he learned advanced martial arts from the start? I could anticipate the birth of the greatest swordsman of Tianheng, making him practically a demigod. The protagonist, SEO, continued with his plan, thinking about his strategic partnership. For at least 30 years, then I will benefit as much as possible while I work for him. He turned to Director Kim, now calling him by name, and began to goad him. Director, this is Murim, a world of martial arts. Who knows when the Tianheng gangs might come after us if we start a business? Shouldn't we at least learn a little self-defense? Martial arts? Director Kim's eyes gleamed with interest, but he raised the obstacle. But they don't teach their martial arts to people outside the sect. How are we supposed to learn? SEO thought, satisfied. As a novel or manga nerd, I knew he'd be interested. He used his encyclopedic knowledge of the future. In this city, there are 7 famous sects. Among these, the Demon Slayer sect, the Temple of Self-Restraint, the House of the Contained Bird, and the sect of the 7 Mysteries are on the orthodox side of Tianheng. While the Sharp Fang Pack, the Shadow Knight Association, and the Fighting Dragon Fortress are considered unorthodox, and people call it 4 stars and 3 demons. SEO detailed the sects. The Demon Slayer sect learns sword and blade techniques. The Temple of Self-Restraint is a Buddhist sect. The House of the Contained Bird deals with intelligence. The Seven Mysteries sect has a long history and learns all kinds of martial arts. Regarding the dark side, on the other hand, not much is known about the 3 demons. It is said that they are proficient in stealth and sorcery techniques. They do many illegal things. SEO asked the crucial question. So, which sect do you like the most? Director Kim didn't hesitate. The Demon Slayer cult, of course. A martial artist must wield a sword. The protagonist, SEO, confirmed Director Kim's choice. And the man must learn blade techniques befitting a man who was called the greatest swordsman of my past life. Director Kim was intrigued. But how do you know all this? SEO maintained his disguise. I was eavesdropping on some martial artists talking earlier. 3 months later, they arrived at the Grand Temple of the Demon Slayer sect. A disciple stopped them. Who are you? SEO used his brother's alibi. This is my brother. We heard about how famous the Demon Slayer sect is, and we came here wanting only to learn martial arts. The disciple noticed their wealth. They seemed to have a decent amount of money. He tried to discourage them. I'm sorry, but learning martial arts at that age will be difficult. SEO bribed him. Couldn't you at least let us speak to someone of higher status? Even just for basic self-defense would suffice, while handing over a silver ingot. Inside, a prominent master accepted the bribe. I suppose you can join with the outside disciples. However, we don't give special treatment to those who join with donations. Besides, we only accept one of you. SEO thought, frustrated with the return of the money. All that money was worth a yellow bamboo root. Is that all they're willing to do for us? SEO performed the final act for Director Kim. It's all right, if one of us can learn. I'll sacrifice my teachings and leave them to my brother. He ran off, feigning emotion. Will my brother learn? He's the one who will learn. The master accepted Director Kim. Then come later, to where all the outer disciples are gathered. Director Kim was concerned about SEO's sacrifice. What's the point if only I'm going to learn martial arts? I would have chosen a different group if I knew it would be so expensive. SEO reassured him, reinforcing the alliance. I'll start a business with the remaining money and support you. Just focus on learning martial arts. Director Kim accepted gratefully, but with reservations. I will do my best. Thank you for everything. But I am old. I don't know if I will be able to do much. SEO encouraged him with certainty about the future. Believe in yourself, I'm sure you can do it. 7 months later. An internal competition revealed the outcome of SEO's plan. The sect master expressed shock. A stranger from nowhere has defeated all my beloved disciples. Director Kim was unmatched, relentless. He was mastering the art of the sword like no one else. If you've made it this far, it's because you want to see more of this story. So subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and comment below, I really want part 2, and we'll bring it to you as soon as possible. Thanks a lot, and a hug from Dandan Manhwa.